Well, welcome everyone. And again, thank you so much for your promptness. I think we will have others joining us today, but I'd really like to acknowledge that you're all here and thank you and happy Saturday morning to you. So I'm Gila Muir, and I'm the founder of Say Yes to Life Swims. Since 2011, our organization has been providing non-competitive, small group, and super fun escorted open water swim adventures in the Northwest. And I know some of you have been with us on those adventures. Since 2011, for you who don't know us that well, scores of people have joined us, either for escorted open water swim adventures, and we provide those everything from half a mile to 10K, for swim lessons, and many of you are currently involved in swim lessons with me, and also boutique customized adventure swims, and we'll talk more about those later. But for now, I would like you to get ready with your chat box, and you're going to vote either A, B, or C according to this question. So, how many years have you swum in the open water? And even if you have never swum in the open water, you just love to look at it, please share that in the chat box. And Rebecca is our producer today, Rebecca DeGeorge. She's going to kind of give us an overview of what she's seeing there. So Rebecca, is there a huge variety of people on this call today?
Don't know yet. We only have one answer.
Come on, guys. A, B, or C. Open that chat box.
So far, it's sort of split between A and C.
I thought that might be the case. There's some really experienced people on this call, and I'm going to depend on you when we open it up for questions. When we might even be able to do verbal questions toward the end, but primarily we're going to be doing the chat box. You experienced folks, jump in if I miss anything. And if you're in the A category, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a safe place to ask every single question you've always wanted to know about open water swimming. So that leads us to my second question, which is, even if you haven't been in, do you just like looking at it? What do you love most about open water swimming? We're going to give some time here for you to give this some thought and put that into the chat box. And then we'll kick this clinic off with some content. But I really want to hear from you first. And Rebecca, I'm going to hear from you, ask you to share some of the things that you're seeing there.
Okay, nothing yet.
I think people are taking their time to answer this question.
Okay, we have breathing clear air, not chlorine. Open water is so serene.
Oh, I love that.
Let's see, invigorating, life-giving, the views, the creatures, fresh water. Don't have to rely on pool schedules, being part of the water, being part of nature.
Oh, yeah.
Sensory feelings, cold of the water, buoyancy, visuals of the sea animals, taste of the water.
Oh, that's great. I mean, it is, when I discovered open water swimming back in probably 2003, I could not believe my luck. I was deeply grateful. I was an adult onset swimmer. I didn't start swimming till I was 46. And that was like 2 years later. And I discovered a whole part of the world, part of me that I'd never experienced before. And it was life changing for me. And since that time, I've been an advocate for taking care of our water, for enjoying our water, and for the community that open water swimming brings us. So thank you and go ahead and keep on putting stuff in that chat box if you feel like even expressing more about what you love about the open water. So let me tell you what, if you fully participate today, not just sit back, but fully participate, when this is over, you'll be able to describe these three things: the essential and optional equipment for open water swimming, tips, this is the bulk of the content here, the tips for your entry, your swim, and the after drop. The after drop is often not really looked at. in swim clinics, and it's really important that you know what that is. I'll also provide you with 2 drills to help you master the open water. So we have 3 resources, handouts, one on Wetsuit Basics, one on how to maximize the use of a safety paddler, and one, the equipment list that I'll be sharing with you. We'll be posting those within 48 hours on our YouTube channel. So Say Yes to Life Swims on YouTube. Look for that in a couple of days, and you'll be able to download links to really supportive resources that you can use for the remainder of your open water swimming career. I also wanted to just thank Rebecca DeGeorge. She's my partner, my life partner, and my business partner, who is the producer today. Yeah, if you have any questions, you might want to just put those in the chat box and she'll see you there. So for now, what I'd like to do is get started, and I'm wondering if you can see me now. Let me see.
I can.
Okay, can you actually see me? Because I
Yeah.
can't see myself, interestingly.
You're small and the screen is big.
Okay. Is that any better? So I'm trying to actually record. Oh, let me see here. I think I'm going to do that. That's better, right?
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
Full screen.
And am I full screen?
Now you are.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. So let's start with equipment. Actually, I'm going to put this more over to the side so that I can see my equipment list. You don't need to take notes here, but I'm going to give you both the essential and the optional equipment for open water swimming. I'm going to actually show you some of these items. Number one, wear a swimsuit. You know, it almost goes without saying, but when I first started, I had no idea that people actually wore swimsuits under their wetsuits. Picture that. A wetsuit, that's one of the resources that we can that you can download later, but you can either buy one or rent one. And right now, Xterra is having a heck of a sale. 2 of my swim students have told me they've gotten amazing deals on Xterra wetsuits. So you can also rent one online, but right now it's almost cheaper to buy one on Xterra. So you're going to want thicker neoprene on your torso, like 3 to 5 millimeters, and a little bit thinner on your arms, 1 to 3 millimeters. That means that you can really move your arms around. It's really important that you don't use a surfer wetsuit or something made for something other than swimming or triathlons, because you need that flexibility. So you want always to wear a brightly colored cap. No black, no green, no baby blue. You need something that really shows up in the open water. You may feel visible, but guess what? You are not. To any boaters or jet skiers in the vicinity, you need as much visibility as possible. Bring a couple of pair of goggles just in case one gives up the ghost. Bring a couple of large towels, one to change under. You know, you have to master the art of deck changing here, unless there's a bathroom nearby. And one to stand on, like fold it over and stand on it to insulate your feet from the cold. You lose a lot of heat through your head and your feet in open water swimming, and it's really important to protect against that. That being said, bring heavy socks. It doesn't matter the time of the year. Bring heavy socks. In August, bring heavy socks, closed, warm shoes, a wool cap or a warm cap, and other warm clothing to change into. So keeping warm is all about preventing afterdrop, which I did mention before, and we'll discuss this soon. So this is a swim buoy, folks. Wear the swim buoy. Oh, so I need to, Rebecca just came in and said I need to move my paper down. Sorry about this, folks. I'm showing my swim buoy and I managed to knock over my mic. Okay, this is a swim buoy. It's also called a safer swimming device. I like to buy mine at the International Swimming Hall of Fame. They are the ones who got the patent for this amazing device and who first started making it. And I like to support them by buying mine from there. What you do with this device is you put it around your waist and you haul it behind you. It increases your visibility in the open water, and you don't have to buy it from the Hall of Fame, but you do support them by doing that. Another factor of visibility in the open water, you can't overdo that. I mean, if I had a little flag that I could connect to my back and it would be sticking up, I'd be doing that, because visibility is like number one in terms of safety. Bring a waterproof container or bag to put all your gear in. Chances are when you go in, it's nice and sunny, and when you get out, it's raining. So you want to have warm, dry clothes to change into. And lastly, in the essential list, bring hot liquid to drink. It can be tea, coffee, or just like hot water. Bring that with you. So let's take a look at the optional things that you can bring that many people swear by. The first is additional neoprene. You can bring a neoprene cap, gloves, or booties. That's a personal choice. It's good to explore with that and see what works for you. I'm going to suggest to everyone on this call to bring silicone earrings, earplugs. These are those very malleable earplugs that you just stick in your ears and you plug them up. Wearing these helps with vertigo, dizziness in the open water. And to me, might be just psychological, but I think it keeps me warmer too. It keeps my brain warmer. So for me, they're not optional, but for many people they are. Wear flip-flops if you like. You can actually wear them into the water and then take them off and put them into the dry bag part of your swim buoy once you're in the water. You do that to protect your feet. You know, there's sometimes glass and the pebbles and stuff can hurt your feet. Bring a waterproof watch. Can be really cheap. Mine costs about $13, but my friends have a fancier one. Garmin Swim 2 is what they swear by. It's a GPS type watch. I personally always wear my neck bag. You know why I do that? This is a little tiny net bag. I think it's for iPhone and stuff. It's waterproof. I put my ID and my credit card and my car keys in here and I swim. Why? Because your clothing, worst case scenario, could get stolen. When you get out there and your clothing's not there, you want to be able to get into your car. So I actually take it on my body. Terribly, I think, I also want them to know who I am if my body is found. Now, I don't really want to put that in here, but that's why I bring my ID with me. I don't particularly think it's a good idea to bring a phone with you, but my friends do. They also put it into the dry bag part of the buoy. But I just like having it around my neck. And these waterproof bags are really easy to get on Amazon. Just a few more optional things. I really like using these, especially in the wintertime. They're these little charcoal things that warm up. They last for about 10 hours. Amazing. I put them in my shoes because I swim year round in Puget Sound, like a lot of people here. It's super cold. And so you want something that really warms up your feet when you get out. I put this either in my shoes, or if I want to warm up my hands, I put them in my pockets. You might want to bring a thermometer. You can find out temperature online quite a bit, but if you're in a place that is not really popular, you might want to have a thermometer. And I'm looking around for the last thing, which I wanted to show you. It's a safety blanket. It's one of those emergency blankets. You lose a ton of heat standing outside once you get out of the open water. Number one, you lose about 25% of your body heat in the water. So when you get out and there's wind, you lose even more. I found this very helpful on those really rough, windy days to keep you warm. So folks, that's my overview of equipment. And I'm really curious to know from you in the chat box, what questions you might have about equipment before we move on to our second topic, which will be your entry, your swim, and the afterdrop. So what questions do you have? Oh, that's such a good one, Amy. Thank you. Amy asked if I wear sunscreen. I do. I don't wear it in the wintertime, but I do in the summertime. And it's been very important to me to get kind of sunscreen that doesn't hurt creatures. Sunscreen, a lot of the commercial stuff has bad stuff in it. So I found some Australian swim cream, sunscreen that I can't remember the name of, but you can find creature safe, water safe sunscreen. What I really wear a lot of is zinc oxide, which makes me look like I'm in a horrible white face mime show. I mean, my face is totally white, but hey, I'm a blonde. I need protection. So I like zinc oxide quite a lot. This is a good idea. Rebecca puts her emergency info on the buoy. She does that in permanent ink so that if she's unconscious, I mean, let's just think about it. You want to be safe. You want your loved ones to know if you have a problem. So here's a question. What does the thermometer tell you? Is there a too cold temp? That's a personal choice. Right now, the Lake Washington is about 60 degrees. It's 59 to 60 degrees. That's amazing. Puget Sound is probably, and others could straighten me out on this, but I think it's probably about 50 at this point. So especially if Rebecca Corey's on this, tell us what you found in terms of temperature for Puget Sound. So from Heather, the booties actually do limit my movement because they can fill up with water. If you're wearing a wetsuit, just to prevent that, just stick them inside the wetsuit so that the water doesn't go in there. Then they won't hinder your movement. But I'm what they call a skin swimmer. I don't use a wetsuit and my feet get really cold. So I've tried wearing booties. Guess what? Doesn't work for me. I sound like this little tiny duck is following me, flap, 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 and it's just horrible. So fool around with the booties and see if it's worth wearing them. I think we're about ready to move on. And a wetsuit is optional. Like I said, I'm a skin swimmer and many people are skin swimmers. Anyone want to add anything before we move to our second topic?
Gretchen also mentioned a light for the buoy.
Oh, I love that. And particularly if you're night swimming, I don't do a lot of that, but you can stick a flashlight in that wetsuit, in the dry bag part of your buoy, and it gives you this illumination so that you can be seen while you're swimming in dusk, which is not a particularly good time to swim. My experience is boaters really can't see you then or at night. So yeah, you could definitely put a small little flashlight into your buoy. So I'd like to move on to our second topic, tips for entry, swim, and the after drop. So again, actually, you might want to take little notes on this. I'm going to give you 3 tips on each of these areas. The first tip for entry is take it slow. Take it slowly. You might want to go in, up to your ankles, out. I'm talking about the first few times, then maybe up to your hips and then out again. Then maybe up to your shoulders. It's going to start happening. It's kind of shocking when you first get in, but it seems to get less and less shocking as you get in until you hit your face. And we'll go further and we'll talk about that further in a second. As I said before, it might be a good idea to wear flip-flops to protect your feet. If it's in a really sharp area and not a nice sandy beach. Here's what is really helpful. Control your breathing. We all experience what is called the mammalian dive reflex when our faces go in the water. Interestingly, research has shown that this mammalian dive reflex is really good anti-anxiety. It feels horrible at first because it makes you gasp, but researchers are starting to fool around with the mammalian dive reflex in treating anxiety. Just getting your face in the water slows your heart down, shrinks up your lungs, and that's why you gasp, and gets you ready for submersion for long periods of time. So most new swimmers are kind of freaked out when they get in and they start gasping. Hey, it's only going to last a few minutes at the most. So try controlling your breathing on the entry. What I've done here is covered 3 tips for entry, which is take it slowly, maybe wear flip-flops, and control your breathing. Let's go to, and I'm open to any of the experts on here putting in your 2 cents in the chat box as well. Let's go to 3 tips for the actual swim. My first tip is sight on something big and immobile. What I mean by that is you get in the water, where are you going to swim? Well, you got to set your eyes on something that rises above the water line and that doesn't move. Don't start looking at a sailboat. Look at a mountain or a house or a tree that will help you set your course, and try to swim in as straight a line as possible toward that larger thing. Even if you're not really going all the way there, it gives you something to set your eyeballs on. Talking about setting your eyeballs, let's talk a little bit about crocodile eyes. Recently, that was mentioned in a Facebook post on the Western Washington open water swimmers page. And it's something that we all use, we all strive to use it. Basically, don't lift your eyes up further than a crocodile or an alligator would as you look at that thing in front of you. Sometimes I have a tendency to, hey, where am I? I lift up my head, and of course, my legs go down and I start dragging a little bit more. So try to just look a little tiny bit up. And people call this sighting, and they will do it maybe every 5 to 10 strokes. It's very individual. You don't have to do it all the time. The less you do it, the faster you'll go, typically, because it's hard for us lots of times to understand what we're looking at and keep going at a good stroke pace. So this is all combined in that second tip here. Use crocodile eyes. And you know what? We're not going to say before you get in, but as you get in, turn around. Look at where you got in. Try to get a visual image of what that looks like, because you want to end up at the same place that you started out. And I'll tell you something, it looks really different swimming back. When your goggles are somewhat foggy, you're going, okay, I think it's around here. So look for landmarks on the way back before you even start out. So my third tip here is listen and watch. Listen and watch. Jet skis, boats. Again, there are deaths every year between swimmers and jet skis. You don't want to be a statistic. So really swim defensively. So what we got in the swim category is sight on something big and immobile. Swim as straight as possible using crocodile eyes, and make sure you know what what it looks like when you're coming back, and listen and watch. So I do have a bonus tip. I said 3 tips for each of these, but I do have a bonus tip here. If you don't have a kayak with you, there is a Seattle Municipal Code 16.28.010 that indicates you must swim 50 feet from shore, no more. That means pretty darn close to shore, so that you can easily get out. Keep that in mind. I don't know anyone personally who has been cited, but I have heard of people who have been cited by the water police for not swimming 50 feet from shore. Just keep that in mind. If you have a swimmer accompaniment, a kayak, make sure that that kayaker has a life jacket, a PFD, for you and not only for themselves. That's part of this Seattle Municipal Code as well. They need to have a life jacket as well. Taking a look at the time, we're doing pretty well. One last tip, excuse me, no more tips. One last topic, and this has to do with after drop. So I want to define to you what after drop is and why it's so important. When you swim, you get vasoconstriction. Your organs are protected. All your blood flows to your internal organs. Once you get out of the water, and that's because it's cool, once you get out of the water, the cold blood starts circulating in your body and you start feeling really cold. So as a beginning swimmer, I remember driving home from Golden Gardens and thinking, geez, it's like 30 minutes after I got out and I'm colder now than I was in the water. What's going on? At that time, I didn't have a word for it, but basically it's this phenomenon of after drop. And there's a saying in our field, which is your swim is not over until the after drop is over. After drop can be really hard to get through. The longer you're in water and the colder the water, the worse, I'm going to put quotations around that, the worse the after drop is. It's not particularly pleasant. That's why it's so important for you to get as warm as possible after a swim. There have been heart attacks. I don't want to scare anyone, but if you're super, super cold, don't jump into a super, super hot tub immediately after a long swim, because the shock of the cold blood can actually affect your heart. So be cautious with the after drop. Know that it's a natural part of swimming. It will come, and make room for that. Hope I didn't scare you. So, okie dokes, let's take a look at these three things. I gave you 3 tips for entry, 3 tips for the swim itself, and 3 tips for after drop. So in the chat box, I would love it if you would start putting some questions or comments in there about these topics before we move to our last content piece of the clinic today. Oh, here's a great one from Eleanor. Is there a type of goggles? I like Zoggs. It's Zoggs, and it's an Australian brand. They're easily accessible. The reason I like those, like most women, many goggles didn't fit me all that great. I find that these really do fit. I think I get the Predator. Is that what it's called? Anyway, it's the ones, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, where the sun is not as bright. Somebody give me that. That word, are a little more expensive than like 57 bucks. The cheaper ones work just fine for me. So I like Zoggs, and everyone seems to have their own preferred type. Sometimes the bigger they are, the better they are for open water swimming, almost like snorkeling goggles, because you can see so much more. So from Heather, that's a good question too, and to take it slowly. She asked, do you mean take your, just, after 5 minutes, basically, after you get in, you go up to your hips, whatever, go away and try again the next day? Not necessarily. You can do all of this within about 5 to 7 minutes, maybe. Go in, go out, go in, go out. You could do it at the same time, but your first swim may actually be only 5 minutes. Once you're all the way immersed, your first swim may be very short. So come back the next day and do another one. Every day you swim makes you more acclimated. Every day you swim makes you less anxious. And that's the cool thing about it. So a question from Amy, if you're just getting into swimming, is it better to get some pool fitness first? Or equally valid to start with open water swimming? So I think it's, and I'd love to get some input from experts who swim with me year round. This is how I use the pool. I really like pool swimming, but I do use it only for technique and speed. Those things are more difficult to work on in the open water. You get into the open water and there's everything else to think about. There's cold, there's creatures, there's the environment. So I use the pool for fitness, and I use the open water swimming for, well, enjoyment, even though I enjoy the pool too. So it's fine to just jump, go and try out cold water swimming, try out open water swimming, and then just go back and forth. It's okay. You don't need pool fitness first. You can start in the open water. Thank you, Eric. I am thinking of polarized. I could not think of that word. Yeah, polarized lenses are more expensive, but they're really good on a sunny day. I have some of those and I really appreciate it. So here's Roger's question. Why do you swim without a wetsuit, and how did you become able to do that? So I did have a wetsuit. I still have it. It's down in the basement somewhere. So obviously I started with that. I say obviously because I started swimming in Puget Sound and I thought it was super, super cold, which it is. Gradually, I began to want the freedom of not having to wear the wetsuit. It was a real pain, literally a pain in the butt. To pull it over my hips takes forever to get it on, forever to get it off. So you know what? I just started fooling around with not wearing it. And then I realized there are 2 different communities in the open water swim community. We're all one. There's no judgment either way, but there are these purists, which call themselves skin swimmers or English Channel swimmers, who only wear earplugs, swim cap, and swimsuit. And they're more like, and then there are the wetsuit swimmers who might be more in triathlons and want to go faster, because you do slow down as a skin swimmer. You have more drag than you do as a wetsuit swimmer. So you kind of make a choice, or you do both. I just love the hardiness that's involved with skin swimming. I love the communing with nature that it gives, and it's much easier. All you need are those 3 things: the swimsuit, the goggles, and the, I guess that's 4 things, the cap and the earplugs, and you're good to go anywhere in the world. You don't have to pack a wetsuit. So Roger, feel free to ask more questions about that, because that is totally a question that a lot of people have. Either is okay. You're still an open water swimmer no matter which way you go. So here's the 3 tips for after drop. Thank you. Someone reminded me, I never got to those. So you want to prevent after drop. Dry your head and put on your warm cap immediately. You'll see me out there at Lake Washington, middle of January. You know, I get out, I'm cold. I'll just dry off my head and hair and stick on that cap, and then I'll go to the rest of my body. However, before I go to the rest of my body, I'll also make sure, this is tip number 2, that I am standing on a pad, a yoga pad, a towel, something to reduce cold transmission. So I take care of my top and my bottom first. Then you got to get out of those wet clothes as soon as possible and put on dry ones. That's where you might want to use these hot hands that we discussed. You might want to have one of those microwave little packs and hug it to your chest. Those feel really good. We call them core warmers in our business, and we provide those after swims so that people can warm up. It's so comforting to wear something warm. So those are my 3 tips for after drop. Dry your head and put on your cap, stand on something, and get out of your wet clothes as soon as possible. Let's take about 2 more questions for the this part. I see a question that, is there a better time of year to start open water swimming? Well, there's a part of me that thinks that starting in late summer is good, or starting in summer, just starting in summer is good, and that just keep on swimming. Keep on swimming as the year progresses. And you'll suddenly find yourself in February still in the open water. It's pretty funny. I started with one or 2 other people, the Alki group, and it's now like more than 50 people sometimes, and many of those folks started swimming in the summertime, but some of them just hopped right in February, and I'm going, dude, you're hardy to come in February and jump in. It's interesting because I believe the coldest month of the year is March. You got some ice melt going on, and definitely the lake is colder than Puget Sound at that time. So you make choices as to where is your preferred swimming spot. Let me see if there's any other questions. Yeah. Jerome says cold is a state of mind, start slow and work up to it. So I think I'd like to go to the 3rd portion of our clinic. What we've covered so far is equipment, tips for entry swimming in the afterdrop. And now let's go to the 3rd portion, which are drills. I have 2 drills for you, but first I want to say there's going to be a quiz. So if you've only been halfway listening, perk up. I will be quizzing you before we close down the program. So what I'd like you to do is push back from your computer or your phone. Make sure that your phone is steady, because I'm going to ask you to put your arms out in front of you like this. We're going to do some fake stroking right now. So please, nobody can see you. You're not being silly. Just go like this. And the first drill is fantastic if what you would like to work on is bilateral breathing. It also helps you swim straight. So what we're going to do is pretend that my face is in the water. So I'm going to go bubble, bubble, breathe. I'm watching myself. Bubble, breathe. Bubble, bubble, breathe. I'm going to keep on going. I want you to join me. Breathe. I'm going to slow it down. Bubble, bubble, breathe. So when you breathe, you're on your side. Bubble, bubble, breathe. Bubble, bubble, breathe. Bubble, bubble, breathe. It's a mantra. It's a mantra that you say in your brain as you break the habit of single side breathing, and as you potentially use some crocodile eyes in there to see where you're going in between a couple of the strokes. That's kind of more advanced, and it's something that we work on in swim lessons. How do you sight at the same time as you're doing bubble, bubble, breathe? There's another piece of this that I wanted to interject, and it is the stretch part here. So instead of saying breathe, this time let's get that stroke going. So bubble, bubble, go stretch. So you're really stretching here. You can feel your lats moving. Your arm is up. Your arm behind you is nice and poking up. Nice angle so that it can dive down and really cut that water. Bubble, bubble, stretch. I'm going to go slower. Bubble, bubble, stretch. Bubble, bubble, stretch. Now, I'm not saying that you should take a huge, what I want to say, that you should wait when you're stretching, like a huge pause there. It should be the same rhythm. Bubble, bubble, stretch, bubble, bubble, stretch, bubble, bubble, stretch. But the stretching is part of your elongation. So the bubble, bubble, breathe drill helps you do multiple things right in the open water. And it's one of my ultimate favorite drills. And feel free to ask any questions you may have in the chat box. I'm going to move to the second drill right now. And this is more like a supported drill, like they say in yoga. If you use a chair or a strap, they call that using support. Well, this drill uses a pool buoy. Yes, it's yet another kind of buoy, but this one is actually made for a pool. And a hand paddle. People use different types of hand paddles. There's 1,000,001 types on the market, but most of them you hook over a finger. Simply put the swim buoy, the pool buoy, in between your thighs and squeeze. Remember Suzanne Summers? Just squeeze. It's a thigh master. It takes your kicking out of the equation totally. You become sleek. You become a mermaid or a merman. You end in a little point. You know, your little feeties behind you are a point. They're no longer kicking. And then simply move ahead with your paddle. This will, and I work with a lot of women, new open water swimmers. It really helps build your upper body strength. Use a paddle. Don't get too big of a paddle because you could actually put a lot of oomph into your shoulders that you don't necessarily want. But use a paddle. I just love these. These are Finis, and you get them online, and they're called the freestyle paddle. Not very many people have seen me practicing in the open water using these things, but I do it because it helps, especially right now when you can't get into the pool. Why not use pool stuff in the open water? So that's my second drill. I'm going to see if there's any things in the chat box right now. Yes, thank you, Gretchen, all the way from Portland. Woo! Yeah, make sure that you exhale on the bubble. That's why you say bubble, bubble, breathe. It says you're exhaling on the bubble during the bubble, bubble, breathe. Caitlin has a question. Can I speak to technique adjustments from pool swimming to open water? Or can you recommend resources for this? My experience, and I am just wondering, we're going to try something fancy, Rebecca. Can you unmute Gretchen? I don't know if you can see her name. I would love to hear her input from this. She's a fantastic coach in Portland. I've actually been coached by Gretchen. And so Gretchen, I see that you're now unmuted. Can you speak to the technique adjustments from pool swimming to the open water?
Gila, thank you for bringing me on. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great, yeah.
Great, fantastic. So I think one great tip is to consider if your stroke rate might be a little bit slower, to bring it up a few strokes in open water because you have a lot of chop. Obviously there's currents and wind, and just having a slightly higher stroke rate, so the rate at which your hands go into the water, will help you move forward in a better rhythm.
Thank you. Yeah. And if you folks have other questions about transitioning from pool to open water, it came so naturally to me that's why I think I have the curse of knowledge, as they say. I'm not sure I'd be able to identify things that would help you. So having Gretchen on this call is really quite helpful to me. So Roger wants to know if there's equipment that measures distance you have swum. Yes, my friends really promote the Garmin Swim 2, just number 2. Anything that has a GPS in it, I think, I shouldn't say anything because I don't know that much about it, but many things actually measure how far you've swum. And then you can put it on your phone. You can actually see the map, which is super cool. So if anyone else has information on Roger's question about equipment that measures distances other than just time, please put it in the chat box. Let's see. So there's a question, is the main purpose of the pool buoy exercise to increase arm strength? Yes, and it's also to take away your kick. You know, Swim Smooth, which is an Australian wonderful company that actually Gretchen is a coach for, and I've been with them just taking their advice for many, many years. It says it's really important sometimes just to take your kick out of the equation, to see if you are in fact depending too much on your kick. Are you a kicktastic? In other words, are your feet doing most of the work? Sometimes in open water, I mean, I should say often in open water, you're not going to want to use your feet a whole bunch. Just let them gently help you keep your body alignment in the water. Don't try to get your propulsion from your feet because it is exhausting. You're going to wear out a lot faster. And what you really want in the open water is endurance. So here's the Strava app will chart your swim via your phone in your buoy. So the second drill, Kathleen has a question about the second drill, was not so much a drill. It just had to do with using some tools in the open water. I would say swim for 5 to 10 minutes using these tools if you have them. So it's not so much a drill as much as a practice and kind of a consciousness raising about how am I using my body in the water. It's the more you can pump up your proprioception, which is what am I experiencing physically in the water? What is my right hand doing as opposed to my left? What is my coordination in the water? Maybe because I came late to swimming, but I don't find swimming particularly meditative. You may be very different than me. I'm always thinking about those very things. What's going on with my body? What's my cold? What's going on with my internal cold level? Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly how I got off on that, but just talking about that, that wasn't really a drill. It was more a test of proprioception and taking your kick totally out of the equation. So I think what I'm going to do now is ask you a couple of questions. First, I'm going to quickly review what we talked about. One was equipment, and remember, we'll send you, we'll post the links to this stuff. One was the swim itself, the entry, swim, and after drop. And one was this last thing about drills. So what I'd like to do is, whoops, go back to this, and ask you what sticks with you. And that topic number one, the equipment for open water swimming, I'd like to know in the chat box what I said that grabbed your attention, that intrigued you for some reason, that surprised you. And I'd like to hear from Rebecca what you're seeing there.
Wear a bright cap. Warm clothes year round.
Yay, good.
I didn't think earplugs were important, but they seem to be really helpful.
Yay.
Use crocodile eyes. Swim buoy is essential. Can't overdo visibility.
Yeah, hey, that's a great one. I was just going to go back to the swim buoy for a sec. You will see open water swimmers not using it, and it will be interesting for you, everyone on this call, to, in your own mind, measure how visible they are. Can you see them that well, or are they kind of invisible, even if they're wearing a brightly colored cap? Anything else, Rebecca?
Stand on a mat. I
Good.
find this 90% of the time I can't feel my feet anyway when I come out.
Seriously. I mean, I've actually cut my feet because I can't feel them. I didn't avoid that sharp pebble. So I think as I age, it's going to be more important for me to keep my feet warm in the water. And that is still a challenge for me. I know how to warm up afterwards, but my feet are not, they don't have as great circulation as they used to. So this is going to become more of an issue for me as I age. Anything else, Rebecca, or should I move to topic 2?
Yeah, I hadn't thought of extra goggles. Waterproof gear bag for towels and clothes to return to.
Yeah,
TIL men and women's goggles were different.
that's interesting.
Hat first.
Yeah, good. Let me see you put that hat on first. Okay, let's go to topic number 2, which is this huge content area that with a whole bunch of stuff was going on in here. What caught your attention during this chunk of our time together today? What did you not know before and you're super glad to know now? Or what do you still have questions about?
Okay, we have never heard of after drop and just need to ride it through. After drop, wear a wool hat in the summer.
Yeah. Now, let me just poke my 2 words in here. You know, if it's really, really warm, I have found that I don't need to wear the warm cap in the summer, but I have it. And that's the important thing. Because who knows, it might hit you on the way home in the car. After you get out of the sunshine, you might get cold in the car. So just always bring it, even if you don't always use it.
So here's a question. How often do you use sighting? Every 5 to 0 strokes? That is far more often than I thought.
Yeah, you know, it's really a personal choice. I don't do it that often, but I read a lot of material that say, especially in a race, you know, look as often as you can, because if you're not super straight in a race, you're going to be adding time to your swim. So just fool around with it. And I would say Google it a little bit, see what the experts say. Most importantly is your own experience, though. I mean, I have read 5 to 10 strokes. To me, that's way too much. So I don't have a definitive answer for that one, but I'm going to encourage that questioner to do a little tiny bit of research and primarily fool around with it yourself.
And Gretchen says to that, it depends on how straight you swim, more often if you seem to drift.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions for this topic?
Another question. How do you hear when you have earplugs in?
Good question. I find that I can still hear. It's especially the of the motorboat. You can still hear, it's probably not as good, but you can still hear. It's difficult to hear your friends talking, which is too bad, but you can definitely hear things in the water. It's worth wearing them if cold and vertigo are issues for you.
So here's another one. Do you feel like you get exercise cardio from open water swimming, or is it just for enjoyable fun?
That is so interesting. There is research that says your heart rate actually goes down in open water swimming. That's why a combo of cardio, whether you ride your bike there or run afterwards, is so good. It's really, as an endurance sport, yes, it makes you really strong. It helps your heart, but you don't, in my experience anyway, unless you're in a race and you're really trying to go fast, it's not especially cardio. And I would love to get input from others on the call about your own personal experiences. Is open water swimming very cardio for you? Now, it could be that it's just not for me, and it is for other folks. I'd love to get some more input on that. It's really good for you. I mean, I want to say that swimming, from my research, has been shown that it works every single muscle of your body, from your face all the way down to your feet. What could be better than that? But in terms of cardio, there are other things that are more cardio than open water swimming, for sure. Let's go to our third topic as we begin to wrap up. And I want to make sure they get some of your, not all of your, verbal comments and questions as well. But what struck you about drills to help you master the open water, if anything? Did anyone enjoy bubble, bubble, breathe or bubble, bubble, stretch?
I just want to say that Gretchen also added also citing to check on safety of others and presence of watercraft. It's good. Yeah. And swimming with others who are faster than you is definitely cardio.
Well, I bet that's true, because I find myself desperately trying to catch up with people, and that's pretty cardio. So.
Okay, so we have to not use kicking for propulsion, primarily for alignment. Butterfly in open water certainly ups the heart rate and warms you up quick.
Oh, that's great. That's a great comment.
I love both bubble, bubble, breathe. Yes, I have a problem with only breathing on one side.
You know, just for that person, just saying bubble, bubble, breathe as you drive to wherever you're going to be getting into the water, as a sort of a mantra, just getting it into your brain is going to be really helpful for you.
We have, I like bubble, bubble, breathe, good technique for sighting while swimming. Oh, two separate things. Good technique for sighting while swimming. I enjoyed bubble, bubble, breathe. Another question, you talked about beginners having a gasping reflex. How and when does this improve for more even breathing?
Yeah, you'll get over that really fast. It's another thing, kind of like after drop, that's just part of open water swimming. It will probably last for you about 5 minutes, 5 to 10, absolute max, maybe even less. So the important thing to do when you feel that tightening, that constriction of the chest, is consciously deepen your breathing. The Buddhists call it tumo breathing. I mean, you've heard of, by this time, the cold water guy, now I'm spacing out his name, but he's kind of tried to put his copyright on this deep breathing concept. Deep breathing really, really helps. So don't worry about the gasping when you're first getting in. It will pass. So I'm going to move on now and just, as we close out, give you a big, huge invitation to learn more about Say Yes to Life Swims. We provide, as I say, the escorted open water swim events. Even during this time, we will be able to hold small events. So keep up with our website. If you haven't already signed up for the newsletter, please sign up for the newsletter, and I'll keep you right on top of things in terms of what's coming up. You know, swim lessons, I enjoy giving them. People enjoy them from me, and right now I extended the early seabird special. It was supposed to close yesterday. It is a package of 3 swim lessons, and you save $30. And I extended it till tomorrow night. So if you're interested in getting swim lessons, the early bird special, it's not too late to sign up for these 3 swim lessons and save $30. And then lastly, the customized boutique adventure swims. We will take you where you want to go, flanked safely by 2 highly experienced safety kayakers. You'll get a video of your swim. We'll stay in contact with your loved ones when you're out there, and you'll get chocolate or champagne at the end of it. So many people have enjoyed our customized boutique adventure swims. At this point in our last just several minutes, I just wanted to open up to any remaining questions. And I think if we can do verbal stuff here, Rebecca, that might be really nice. Otherwise, we'll depend on the chat box.
Okay, I just want to first say there is a question from Heather. Are the swim lessons for people who are already strong swimmers to adapt to open water, or for people who don't know how to swim?
So my bottom line is, my criteria for accepting swim students is you have to be able to swim 20 minutes in the pool. that's a pretty low bar. So even if you're not a very confident swimmer, but you kind of do know how to swim and you can swim for 20 minutes in the pool, you're in. I'll love to work with you. On the other hand, I have swimmer students who are better swimmers than me, but they're not accustomed to the open water. In other words, they swam in college, but they never really swum in the open water. So in that case, that end of the continuum, it's a matter of, me helping them feel comfortable out there, outside in the open water. So it's basically wide open. I like to help people, and I've seen a lot of goals met as a result of my work with people in the open water. It's probably, in some ways, my absolute favorite part of this business. Any other questions coming up?
Yeah, I'm going to unmute everybody so they can ask a question if they want.
Okay.
So Elizabeth asks, I'm outside the Seattle area and I've been put off from getting in there because I'm worried about local hazards. In the absence of local groups, any tips?
Elizabeth, do you have somebody you can swim with? Do you have a partner?
No.
I think, what?
No.
Okay, so you're on your own. Make sure you have a swim buoy and a bright cap and go to a public park that has water. And just, stay close to shore. Make sure there are people in the parks now, so people will be able to see you. I'm not totally against swimming on your own. I know I'm in the minority on that because you're never supposed to swim on your own. But realistically, often we're in the same situation as Elizabeth is. Just be super responsible for yourself. Think about all the things that we've gone over here, and find a place that is alongside a public park area and just give it a try. You are responsible for yourself. No one else is watching out for you. And with that knowledge in mind, I think you'll be a safe swimmer. So that sounds really weird, but open water swimming is inherently risky, and we all have to accept that as we enter into this new realm for all of us. Yep. Any other questions?
How often do you feel like you need to keep up the habit to still be in the habit? Like, is once a week enough?
That really, it kind of, for me, depends on where I am in life. Typically, I like to swim in the pool 2 or 3 times a week and in the open water once. So typically I go once a week. During this pandemic, when there are no more pools, I've been swimming literally every other day ever since basically January 1st. So I get my hit every other day. You know how good open water swimming is for mental health. I always call it, ever since I first encountered it, my mental health pill. And now research is starting to catch up on that there's nothing better that you could do for yourself than to get out there and swim. So taking all the social distancing precautions, bring your mask down, bring your hand cleanser down, keep your distance, and take care of yourself. It's the best thing you could do for yourself. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's take one more question, then we'll head out. And Rebecca, I'm going to ask you to close our meeting after this last question. Any other questions? So I'm not hearing them. I just want to say to everyone on this call, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you in the open water. If you have a question that comes up, feel free to email me at Gila@SayYesToLifeSwims, and I'll get back to you with an answer for your questions. Okay, folks, take care.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome. See you.
Thank you, Gila.
Bye.